Good evening. My name is Marty Schneiderman. I'm a resident of Murray Place. Thank you very much. A wonderful presentation tonight. It's great to hear the directions that the university is going in and sharing it with the community so that we can understand it. By way of just a little background, though, we talk about 10, 20 years, 30 years into the future. The university has done this many times in the past, and we in the community have been engaged in that process and care a lot about it and have had very significant things to share that the university listened to and our municipal officials listened to and were very, very constructive. And I know that Lee talked about some of the things that were done with the E3, the area of the engineering quadrangle that's adjacent to Murray Place and the part of the map that you had there. Many years ago, there were a number of things that residents were concerned about, and we had a very amicable relationship with the university expressing what was important to us. The university explained what was important to them. We sat down, had many very productive meetings to come up with what would be the best way that would work for both the university and the municipality, that portion of town. And it was really a lovely outcome because we sat down, we had this E3, we then went and worked with Lee and legal folks at the municipality and the planning board and so on to come up with something that worked for all of us, and it's worked out very, very well. It's encouraging also to hear the university talk about expansion plans, and not surprisingly, engineering is an area that will be a focus of that going forward. So we know that you described that going forward, you used three terms that could happen in the engineering quadrangle. You described that it could be renovated, areas might be replaced, be repurposed. But I didn't hear anything talked about expansion of that. Because one of the things in the E3 that was important to the community and to the university was saying there's a finite amount of space that's there. It can't grow in ever without any boundaries at all. That was one of the things that was very important, and we know that there's, 75,000 square feet of expansion space that can go there today.
On the east side of Olden, I think more on the west, yeah.
Exactly. So. And a point that's important to understand, the university said, we need to expand. The community said, that's fine, but please don't do it 47 feet high, 47 feet from our property line. Do it on the other side of the property. And that's exactly what's happened. When the Andlinger building was planned, we had meetings invited by the university to the community to share what was there. What do you think about that? What were ideas? Community members had constructive suggestions that were listened to and addressed in the plan. It's great. So I'm curious on behalf of that part of the community to get a better sense of, do you know yet, or in the next year, as you describe this time next year, 2017, that question of what might happen in that area as opposed to those four possible things. So let me pose that first, then I have another question right after that.
Okay. Do you want to start, or do you want me to? Go ahead. You clearly want to. No.
Marty, thank you. And having worked through all those many meetings with you, I really do appreciate and the engagement of the neighbors. The first thing I would say is, one of the things Ron said in the very beginning is, we had the zoning boot camp, and part of that was to understand that E3 is in place, and so whatever we propose to do in that particular area would respect the E3 zoning. So we take that as a starting point. And then the next thing I would say is that one of the things we're hoping that Cindy and her team will do for us is provide us with options for where and how we could meet the expanded needs for engineering, and frankly, for some of the other projects that Cindy cited, so environmental studies as an example. And some of that might happen within the E3, some of that might not. And so we need to see from them what they think the options are, and then we need to figure out, once we know what the options are, and when we know what capacity we have to do what when, we'll figure out how to proceed. But it will all be, respectful of the zoning that we have there. Want to add to that?
I think there's not a lot to add to that, just to echo. Zoning boot camp was the most fun a planner can never have, I have to tell you. But I think that one of the key things, just as a little bit of a reminder, is that the engineering school is an active entity, so providing them with new facilities means that something new has to be built before something old can be decommissioned. So I think that means that at some level there will be growth beyond the E-Quad. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. We certainly know and respect the effort that went into negotiating the E3 parameters. The Anlinger Center is a proof that contemporary buildings can be built. We also understand that there are limits to what can be built, but things can be taken away and replaced with other things, provided that they meet the stringent parameters around the total amount of floor area that's permitted and the heights and setbacks. So I think, as Bob said, our team is looking at a whole variety of possible solutions, including reusing the buildings in whatever capacity is possible, but also providing facilities, most likely for wet labs. The building is not very suitable for that, in other locations, and figuring out what might be the kind of best fit for that site, taking advantage of its potential and its very important location. I think we heard earlier comments that it is, I think, at some level important that that site be well used so that it contributes to the east side of Nassau Street, but always within the confines of the E3 zoning is the way that we're looking.
Good. My second question is another one that's very relevant because it's changed over time. 10, 15 years ago, the concept of cars coming into town and parking was of great importance. That's evolved. It's changed with Tiger Transit and parking lot 2021 down by Faculty Road and so on. Has been working very nicely.
Yes.
We know that the university had at one point in time plans of a very large garage that was contemplated to be on the ball fields adjacent to the football stadium. And in the plans that you're talking about now, the energy consumption and all the things about wanting to promote pedestrians and bicycles and so on, is it still part of the university's concept or plan or belief that expanding parking facilities is going to be necessary in the foreseeable future for, let's say, the next 10 years? Or no, the current plan of emphasizing energy and so on is working well enough that that was then and that's not what you're planning on doing now? Can you comment on that yet?
Yeah, so that's a huge question. The first thing I want to say is that I think we said earlier that most of what was in the 2016 plan we have accomplished, not all.
Yeah.
And the one thing that dropped off and has stayed dropped off and is dropped off permanently is the...
So was that left?
Permanently.
I thought
Yes.
it said that.
That garage is no longer under consideration. So that's a part of the 2016 plan that is not under consideration any longer. We do have to figure out how we provide the parking that we need to accommodate the people who are coming to campus. And so the big question is, I'm going to look at Kim when I say this, how successful can we be in reducing the demand, reducing the need for parking spaces? We need to provide parking spaces for those who do drive and need them. But if we can drive that down, I think everybody wins, right? We have to construct fewer parking spaces. There are fewer cars on the streets. And one of the things that has been interesting, even as we've run through this project, is, you read it in the national press, and we certainly have heard it internally, is that, patterns of car use are changing fairly dramatically. Young people now don't want to own cars. They want to have alternative ways of getting around. They're comfortable if they can get a car when they need it, but only when they need it, and therefore they don't need to bring a car to campus. If we can figure out how to get them to campus, either by transit or biking or walking. And so we're trying to work really hard to drive down the need, and then, yes, we will have to meet the need. And I think a lot of that meeting the need is going to be, the question that was asked earlier, is likely to be at a more remote location with the idea that you park, you get on the shuttle, and then you get to where you need to go. That seems to work pretty well. So, yeah, I think we will certainly need to make sure we meet the parking demand, but the more we can drive that down, the better off we're all going to be. You want to add to that?
Just add one thing, again, with Kim in the audience. Kim's group has launched a very aggressive and comprehensive planning study of their own with a consulting firm that have expertise in behavior to try to advise them on how to achieve these sort of reductions of parking that Bob is talking about. So we are working very hard at it in all different dimensions. And just, again, to pick up on what Bob has said, and Cindy probably has more expertise in this, is that I think that we are in and coming out of the last generation of both campus making and city making, where the solution to parking was to build bigger and bigger parking garages. I think with autonomous vehicles and ride sharing and things like that, the future is changing all for the good. So I think we're very optimistic about taking advantage of that future.
We recognize that. We thank you very much, and we think it's a win for the university, for the community, the neighborhoods, everything, because our concerns, of course, were, gosh, you put parking garages there, what does that mean? The flow of traffic is going to be greater, and obviously it's all of our best interest not to do that. Thank you all very much. And last point is, you said that in the various stages of next steps is going to be now gathering information, as most of the focus had been apparently from various groups within the university community and working with municipal officials.
Yeah.
I saw things there talking about the community as well.
Yeah.
There's an active community, as the other gentleman talked about, and things like that. You're interested. We're very happy
Yeah.
to meet, share, express the things that have been important to us, which we know we look forward to your hearing and being responsive to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.